Well, I know my Toyota fans will be happy. Ford's in the news here with 552,188 F-150s. The 2014 F-150s have a problem with their transmission programming, or actually a loss of signal. We're going to go through that recall now and then talk about some other Ford recalls. I think Ford is trying to set a record this year, Guinness Book of World Records, for the most recalls of any manufacturer in history. We're going to show you that here in a second. This recall in particular is a safety recall, and if you own one of these trucks, I would definitely go in and get yours reprogrammed. They shouldn't be developing software like this in transmissions to automatically downshift to first gear when they lose a signal, but we'll go through that right now. So the defect is some vehicles may experience an intermittent loss of transmission output shaft speed sensor signal to the powertrain control module, potentially resulting in a temporary unintended downshift to first gear. So you could be going 40 or 50 or 60 miles an hour, and if it loses contact between the OSS signal and your PCM, your computer control module that the car is trying to read the speed, it'll downshift to first gear and could lock up your rear wheels and send you into a median or something crazy. Hasn't happened that much, but as vehicles get older, they do get more corrosion and other things. So we're going to go into that here in a second. Ford says they've identified various causal factors of an intermittent OSS signal loss in the population of vehicles, including contamination, power short to ground, connection corrosion, connector pin swagging, and incorrect outputs from the OSS sensor. As these vehicles age, if you're in the Rust Belt, if you're up north in Canada, anywhere, I think it's probably going to happen more as things get corroded and things get older. So definitely get this done as fast as you can if you own this vehicle. So what they're going to do as a remedy listed here, they say they will include an OSS signal plausibility check to prevent unintended downshifts into first gear. So what they're going to do is reprogram the software. And I know a lot of you say, well, this is great. Recalls are always good, and manufacturers doing recalls is not a bad thing. You're right. It's not a bad thing that they're doing this recall. However, this just proves, and this isn't just Ford, it's everybody, that they're not doing their quality testing and they're not doing scenario testing before they send these vehicles out. And when we look at total recalls, Ford's so far ahead of everybody else. I don't think anybody can catch them in 2024. They might have such a big lead in 2024, they can just carry it all the way through 2025 and just beat everybody in recalls, if the name of the game is having the most recalls. Ford is sitting at 3.6 million potentially affected vehicles, 30 recalls. I mean, that is a massive chunk of the pie right there that Ford is owning. They are just killing it. And everybody will say, well, they sell a ton of vehicles. Yes, they do. They have a huge commercial division. They sell a lot of vehicles, so they're going to have more vehicles affected. But I think General Motors outsold them this last quarter this year. And we're looking at General Motors down at 10 recalls and 640,000. I've been pretty hard on Toyota lately, even though I love them. And Toyota is at, where's Toyota here? Toyota's at 856,000, 8 recalls. So they're a kind of a medium to small chunk of the pie. Still looking pretty good for Toyota. Tesla's down there, 8 recalls, 2.5 million, which Tesla's recalls they're not nearly as bad as it looks when you look at just numbers. And some of Ford's recalls are like that, where you have high numbers of recalls, and they're not always bad. They might be a software update where they're updating the font in something and it affects a million vehicles. So Ford has been having a lot of recalls lately, and this latest one with the transmission is a safety issue, and it needs to be resolved pretty quickly. Kia is, you either have people that love Kia or hate Kia, but they're up at 1.1 million. I know that they've been Kia, Hyundai kind of been frowned upon for some quality issues over the past decade. So they're still up there in recalls. BMW, 92,000. Hyundai, 489,000. So Kia, Hyundai combined are pretty big. Daimler trucks, 1846, pretty low. General Motors low. Yeah, so Volkswagen, 360,000, kind of low. Nissan, pretty low. Nissan's got 89,000, 7 recalls. That's not too bad considering how many vehicles they sell. Mazda's pretty low, but they don't sell as many as some of the other brands. 53,000, 2 recalls. And Subaru's very low, 1 recall, 118,000. Again, Subaru, Mazda, they're not going to sell as many vehicles. So now if we break down Ford's recalls by type of recall, we have electrical system, 762,000, 682,000 powertrain, 43,000 fuel system gas, structure, 1.8 million, steering, 506, visibility, 9,000, tires 2000. Let's jump into the electrical recalls just to see. Example of one of the electrical recalls is an improperly secured battery may cause a fire. Not a huge deal as long as you secure it, but kind of a big deal if it starts on fire. And an example of another powertrain recall from earlier this year for Ford, the wheel lockup or drive shaft separation can cause and can result in a loss of drive power. A disconnected drive shaft can also result in a rollaway vehicle. Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Here's another one on March 8th that was a little bit on the risky side. Cracked fuel injector may leak and cause a fire. That's kind of a big deal. It's not just some little, backup camera issue or something like that. And just because I'm in a jokey mood tonight, selected this report date received from the year 2000 till 2024. Ford is in fact going to win the award, at least from 2000 to 2024. Ford is 746 recalls, 116 million vehicles affected. General Motors is right on their heels, but they're losing. Ford's winning this race. General Motors is at 721 recalls, 110 million. Chrysler's down at 711 and 95 million, and the rest of the people are just kind of bringing up the caboose. Nissan and Toyota are down here in the lower numbers. This kind of proves out too that Toyota over time, over the last 20 years until recently, has had just a much lower recall rate and more reliable vehicles. Yeah, the data doesn't lie. Interesting stuff for sure. I should just maybe do a recall Wednesday or something, recall Tuesday. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it seems like lately there's enough recalls on all of these new vehicles that I could just, every week I could have 10 new recalls, and some of them are serious, some of them aren't. But yeah, things aren't getting less complex in vehicles. They're getting more complex, and it shows. Thanks for watching. Till next time.